Welcome to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. I'm host Lanasha Puwadi. Later in the show, I'll chat with multidisciplinary artist Ty Lodgepole. Camp Not-A-Wheeze is a premier asthma health education and recreation camp for children with moderate to severe asthma. On the phone with me is Dr. Cindy Bauer, Camp Medical Director. Hello, Dr. Bauer, and welcome to our show.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I am so excited to talk about Camp Not-A-Wheeze today.
Absolutely. And before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. I am an allergist and immunologist, and I specialize in seeing children. And as an allergist, I am well trained in caring for children with all allergic conditions, including asthma, as well as food allergies, seasonal allergies, eosinophilic esophagitis, eczema, and more.
And can you give us an overview of Camp Not-A-Wheeze?
Of course. So Camp Not-A-Wheeze is an overnight summer camp that has been in our state for over 35 years. And I would have to say we are so fortunate in Arizona to have a summer camp for children with allergic conditions. Many states do not have such an opportunity due to just the difficulties of maintaining a camp with funding and volunteers and much more. In fact, if you look across the country, not only for asthma but other allergic conditions like food allergies, there are very few opportunities for children to attend a specialized summer camp. So, again, Camp Not-A-Wheeze has been serving our state for quite a while. One great story I like to share is when I was in clinic one day telling a young child about asthma camp, and her mother looked at me with a look of shock, and she stated, "Camp Not-A-Wheeze is still around? I went to that summer camp when I was a child." And that just illustrates, allergic conditions really do often kind of travel in families. And so that was a case where both the mother and the daughter had asthma and other allergic conditions, and were able to benefit from our camp because, again, it's been around for such a long time. And the neat thing is, when you look back, of course, we've made improvements and modernized, but at the same time, not really. We still do all of the same things that anyone would want to do at a traditional summer camp, and always have, from singing camp songs to riding horses.
Oh, wow, that sounds so amazing. And what services are available through the camp?
So, in addition, of course, to mostly having fun, our camp is staffed with medical volunteers to ensure that the campers can have any myriad of allergic conditions are cared for. So I am the volunteer medical director, and I sit in the infirmary throughout the week to care for any more pressing issues for which the child might need to be brought over. Also with me is Nurse Melissa, who is outstanding with decades of experience as well. More close to the children are their counselors, and of those counselors, one of them is always a medically trained counselor, whether that be a nurse or a respiratory therapist. And then next to that person is a non-medical volunteer adult. Now, sometimes that non-medical volunteer is non-medically licensed, meaning they're a nursing student, a respiratory therapy student, or such, even a medical student. And those make really nice pairings because our volunteers are eager to give back and learn about allergic conditions and pediatrics. And so pairing a nurse and a nursing student really makes a nice team of adults for the children to be cared for. Other services that are available are a separate menu of cooking in case the patient has, or the camper, I should say, has a food allergy for which our cafeteria cannot accommodate. So we do have separate cooking available. At baseline, the cafeteria is fortunately nut and fish free, But again, there are circumstances where we will accommodate and make additional entrees for campers to ensure safety with regards to their food allergies.
And who is available or eligible to sign up for this?
So Camp Not-A-Wheeze is for children aged 7 to 14 years and their siblings. And you might wonder why we've opened our camp, as have many medical camps, to siblings. And the reason there is that as children age, especially in the preteen and teen years there, sometimes their parents are not always the first responder, and it may be that sibling that is there with them and able to help. For example, whether it is fetching the EpiPen because of an accidental ingestion that the sibling realizes the patient needs, or the inhaler. So having knowledgeable siblings is very, very important. I think it also makes it easier for kids to go to camp because many children have never attended an overnight summer camp. So if they attend with a sibling, sometimes that helps as well. But those are the twofold reasons I think why it's nice to have a sibling if desired attend camp. But other than that, yeah, anyone from the state of Arizona and beyond can attend camp. And we're very proud of our financial support that we have available. And we would love to say that we would hope that no one is turned away from camp due to the finances, such that we are often able to provide camperships to support the cost of camp.
And how can someone sign up for camp?
So the registration for Camp Not-A-Wheeze is online. If you head to the website at campnotaWheeze.org, it will take you to an online registration, and you can fill that out, and you will be contacted by the Camp Not-A-Wheeze team shortly thereafter with some follow-up emails just to make sure that we have everything regarding the child and to make sure that it's a successful camp.
And earlier you did mention a little bit about the camperships. Can you tell us some more about the different camperships that are available to the youth?
Yes. So I would say the majority of the camperships are based on financial need, if there's any concern there. And then the other bulk is based on specific donations that we may receive. And one exciting one is for Native American children, for which the request is that this donated camp money is to fund a Native American camper. So we are definitely looking for children to fill that campership.
And can you tell us more about the camp on what the youth learned during their time at camp?
Of course. So every day at camp, we have an educational class that's part of their sessions. So the child may go from, horseback riding, and of course, after we ride our horses, we want to change those clothes out because they may be full of allergens, and we want to rinse off, so they may go to water activities, and they're then rinsed off of their allergens. After water activities, they may then change again back into their regular camp clothes and go to their camp educational class for the day, where they're going to learn about allergic conditions. Now, that is not a boring class by any means. In fact, the children love it. We've mastered over the years ways of making learning about asthma, food allergy, and other allergic conditions an interactive and extremely fun course. So, for example, we have education on the different treatment, which has actually been changing quite a bit in recent years. And so it's exciting to teach the children about not only inhalers, but biologics, because many campers are now on injection medication to treat their allergic conditions. Because we are inclusive of all allergic conditions, they'll also learn about seasonal allergies and triggers that can trigger sneezing and stuffy, runny noses, as well as exacerbations. So, for example, learning about pollen and dander. From there, we will learn a little bit about food allergy and the treatment of food allergies, which again, even if the camper doesn't have a food allergy, allergic conditions like food allergy are so common that they probably know someone who does. And learning how to recognize and treat anaphylaxis may save someone else's life. So again, the educational course is very profound. We prove, in fact, that they learn by giving them a pre-test before the week begins and a post-test at the end of camp. And every single year, the children are significantly more knowledgeable on the things that we've taught them throughout the week, and it's shown in that increase in their post-test scores. Throughout the day, their counselors, again, their medical counselors, are well trained in these conditions, also are reinforcing the knowledge by quizzing them. So, for example, if we're going to go have interactions with, let's say, the petting zoo, because we did actually, you wouldn't think it would be a great idea with a bunch of allergic children, but we did bring a little petting zoo to camp, and it was completely successful. Again, knowing the measures that need to be taken before and after such an exposure, as well as pre-treating with inhalers. And so we might quiz the children on what are we going to do and why are we pre-treating and what does this do to our lungs. Again, that really hands-on education, even throughout the day, helps the children put what they've learned into action. And of course, we hope they take that knowledge home and are able to implement that before their PE or soccer practice.
Oh, wow. That sounds so exciting. And kind of taking a step back a bit and can we talk about allergies and asthma? Can you tell us more about that, and how do you know if your child has allergies or asthma?
Asthma and food allergy are actually some of the most common chronic illnesses that affect children today. In fact, there's 1 to 2 in most every classroom that has a food allergy. These conditions are on the rise, and it's a complex array of reasons as to why. But needless to say, between the upper and the lower airway, as well as even the skin, the atopic dermatitis that can affect our children, it can be very scary for parents to let their child perhaps go to summer camp. Even school can be a setting that is uncomfortable for some children and their families because of these allergic conditions. So again, Camp Not-A-Wheeze, way back now, over 35 years ago now, recognized that medical camps are a way for us not only to ensure safety, but allow these children to realize they are not different. There are so many of them out there with asthma, food allergy, and more, that bringing them together, making friends with each other, taking care of their health in a teen sense, can really be empowering. And I think actually one of the beautiful things that illustrates how successful Camp Not-A-Wheeze is, not only is its duration of existence, but also the fact that our campers come back year after year until many of them actually age out. And so much that when they age out, we have campers that would like to apply as counselors in training, so kind of like junior staff, and then later on when they're old enough as adult counselors.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And are there medications or treatment for allergies and asthma?
The majority of asthma treatments have been through inhalers or nebulizer in the recent decades. One medication is in tablet form that has also been around, though not quite as frequently used. In the more recent years, the new introduction of injection medications has came into play for asthmatic children. And these medications can be extremely effective and fortunately have a great safety profile because the bulk of them really just target the allergic pathways. They aren't necessarily going to suppress the immune system and be, more serious and scary. So for that reason, for that safety and efficacy, many children with more moderate to severe disease these days are on injection biologics. Asthma and other allergic conditions at Camp Not-A-Wheeze is proud that we can accommodate these medications in our infirmary. We've, again, with our skilled nursing staff and oversight by myself, can definitely administer those medications while at camp if needed, and really, quite honestly, anything else that the child needs. So those are kind of the bulk of the treatments for asthma. Other allergic conditions which we can accommodate and routinely see at camp are allergy nose sprays, allergy eye drops, and of course for children with eczema, any allergy creams, moisturizers that they may need for their skin. And we hope not needed during camp, but we are definitely always prepared with epinephrine auto-injectors in the infirmary, in the cafeteria, really anywhere the children are, with epinephrine auto-injectors in case of, an allergic reaction like anaphylaxis.
Dr. Bauer, do you have any other favorite success stories or memories of Camp Not-A-Wheeze? I know earlier you told us the story of meeting a parent and their child mentioning like, oh, I did not know the camp was still available to kids.
Yeah, and I think, one of the beautiful things about Camp Not-A-Wheeze are the people, both the volunteers, because our organization is a nonprofit and we are entirely run by volunteers, all of whom do everything out of the goodness of their heart, and the campers who come to camp also out of the goodness of their hearts because they want to have fun and they have medical conditions for which going to a traditional summer camp may not be feasible. So the relationships are so memorable. I personally am so grateful for the other volunteers that I've gotten to know. They're some of the best people out there. And as we have meetings and we plan the camp year after year, I think to myself how grateful I am to know such good people that just love to give back. And, we work all year to see these kids smile and safely have a blast at our summer camp. And then from a camper standpoint, I enjoy making relationships. Some of the campers I only see once a year from camp because they may live, in different areas of the state. Others are actually patients of mine, and so I get to see them even between camp, and we are constantly talking about camp stories or looking forward to our next year. And as a physician, those relationships really, they go to the next level. I mean, it's one thing to have a relationship with your patients that you see in your clinic, but it's another thing to say that, hey, I saw you ride a horse. I saw you pre-treat with your inhaler and, be a little bit afraid because you've never rode a horse before. And let's be honest, you're probably allergic to horses. But I saw you do it with a smile on your face and successfully come back. And again, like we talked about earlier, maybe change clothes and implement measures to keep that dander from causing symptoms. And, those experiences to just see in the children's faces are so memorable. It really helps me realize why I do what I do and why I chose this field. Because I too I love it. I mentioned that as a medical director, I'm largely in the infirmary, kind of stationed there for, for emergencies or other urgencies. But I'll be honest, I sneak out when I can. So certainly when all the children are in the cafeteria, I am there as well for food allergy oversight. But I also like to sneak out when we're having our square dance and I put on my cowboy hat along with everyone else, and the hay ride, and even a horseback ride if I can swing it, and having fun with the campers. Again, there's nothing that compares to that. In a way, I my heart is so big that week, and I feel like as the camp doctor, um, they're all under my care, and while it's a lot of weight at times, the joy it brings me makes it so worthwhile. Hence, I keep coming back year after year to care for the children during the week and see their smiling faces.
Well, that does sound very exciting, and it sounds like it will be a fun event for kids and also for families. And you mentioned volunteers. Can you tell us more about the volunteer process?
So on the Camp Not-A-Wheeze website, there's a specific tab for signing up as a volunteer. And like I mentioned, there's two types of volunteers. There's the traditional medical volunteer, which are the mainstay of our volunteers. So we need folks with medical license to be spread throughout the cabins and activities and ensure that the children are monitored and safe at all times. And so those volunteers can range from medical volunteers with licenses as a physician, nurse practitioner, or physician assistant. They may be in the nursing category, respiratory therapy category, or really any other medical license area. The other type of volunteer are non-medical volunteers, which are the folks who supplement the medical staff and sometimes are simply students in those medical areas. So they may not have their medical license, but they're working towards it. And we try to pair students in, the non-medical volunteers with their appropriate licensed supervisors. So if we have a nursing student that is volunteering as a non-medical volunteer, because again, they're not quite licensed yet, we would attempt to pair them with a nurse so that not only are the children safe in learning, but actually that nursing student is able to learn through the oversight of the nurse that they're paired with. Other volunteers that are non-medical may not always necessarily be students. They may actually be really outstanding parents or other community members who simply want to give back. And what's beautiful about camp is that we do so much throughout the week from, like I said, the water activities, the horseback riding, arts and crafts, archery, that in our non-medical volunteers, we often can find a special skill set that they have and hopefully put them in an area that they can excel throughout the week. As a simple example, if you had great skill in arts and crafts, but you are not medically licensed and you chose to volunteer to give back to the community and be part of camp, well, then maybe we could put you at the arts and crafts station, which we do some really great tie-dye and crafts throughout the week. And that's a win-win for the volunteer and obviously the campers to have someone skilled in that area. So we're pretty much open to any type of medical and non-medical volunteer. As I said before, the camp exists upon the goodwill of folks in the state of Arizona volunteering their time and giving back their skills to ensure that the campers can have a safe and happy week. And we wouldn't be able to exist if we didn't have the volunteers who give of their time. So if you know of anyone with an interest in giving of their time, if you have it in your heart to give back and you have some special skills, consider applying as a volunteer. And likewise, if you know of a camper or potential camper, I should say, who has any of the allergic conditions, and particularly those who are hesitant and may have never been to camp, this is definitely definitely the place for you.
Oh, yes, it sounds like it is an amazing opportunity. And finally, how can our listeners find more information about Camp Not-A-Wheeze, and how can they contact you for further questions?
Of course. So our website is Camp Not-A-Wheeze, all one word, .org, and it has a lot of information about signing up your camper or volunteering. It tells about each of the volunteers on the board. Not only myself as the medical director, but our camp director and assistant camp director, many of whom have years, decades of experience with this organization and caring for children with allergic conditions. So the website's very useful. If the website doesn't have the information you need, or you'd like to speak to someone, you can start by sending an email to info, I-N-F-O, @ and once again, campnotaweeze.org. I believe there also might be a contact phone number, if that's your preference, to reaching out to us, and that's on the website, as is a fax number. That telephone number is 602-336-6575.
Perfect. I would like to thank you, Dr. Bauer, for taking time out to tell us about this amazing opportunity you have coming up.
And I thank you for taking time to let me talk about something that myself and many others are so passionate about. We would love to see our camp grow in numbers and include even more members across the state of Arizona affected by the allergic condition.
Coming up, I'll chat with multidisciplinary artist Ty Lodgepole. Support for KRDP 90.7 FM comes in part from Native Health, with 2 locations in Phoenix, 4041 North Central Avenue, Building C, near the corner of Central Avenue and Indian School Road, and at 2423 West Dunlap Avenue. Native Health is also located in Mesa at 777 West Southern Avenue, near the corner of Southern Avenue and Extension Road. Native Health provides primary medical, dental, behavioral health, WIC, and wellness services for the urban Native American community. For more information, call 602-279-5262 or visit our webpage at nativehealthphoenix.org. Native Talk Arizona returns after this song. You are listening to Sundancer 21 by Eagle and Hawk.
It's hard, but you said it and you meant it. But would you keep on going? Dancer, carry the weight on your shoulder, on your shoulder. They say when
Welcome back to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. I'm host Lanasha Pawadi. Tyron Lodgepole is a multidisciplinary artist and the founder and director of the website Homeland. Hello, Ty, and welcome to our show.
Hello. How's it going?
It's
Good morning.
going great, yes. And before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Like you said, my name is Tyron Lodgepole, or Ty, and I come from the Dene tribe, so I'm from Navajo Nation. To be more specific, Fort Defiance, Arizona, by way of White Cone, Arizona. It's kind of hard to explain what I do because I feel like I do quite a bit. So I always say I do whatever I can get away with in like an artistic point of view, you know, from design, graphic design to doing clothing. I also powwow dance, so I've done a lot of cultural performances all over the place. Yeah, it's a pretty wide range of everything, so that's where I come from. Currently reside here in Phoenix, Arizona, though.
Oh, wow, that's so amazing. And what kind of started this journey?
I think I give a lot of credit to like my parents and the older uncles, because I'm the oldest of all my siblings, but you know, I have some uncles close in age to me that, you know, have always been very artistic, and whether it be in the music industry with DJing or just artistry like drawing, things like that. And I think I've always had an interest in all of that too as well. And you know, so since like a young age, I've always had a lot of fun just sharing, doing art, whether it be music or drawing like SpongeBob or I don't know, Ninja Turtles. Then eventually, you know, I got into fashion like middle school and started drawing like my own shoes. And I think towards like high school, I took a graphic design class and kind of learned the ins and outs of like different softwares to be able to do it, you know, through like, you know, technology, I guess, rather than just hand drawing. I think from there just kind of just was a big leap into bringing things to life after that. And, you know, very blessed to have done the stuff I've done so far. And, you know, it's like a journey every day, and very, very grateful, you know, especially, you know, coming from the background I come from and communities that we come from, and, you know, just very thankful to be able to do this almost, you know, for a living pretty much. And, you know, that's kind of where the foundation begins, though, just from family and always having, you know, some type of artistic connection.
Did you take any classes, or is everything you've done so far kind of like self-taught?
I think, yeah, the only like, I guess, traditional classes I've had was, you know, in high school, I took like a graphic design 1 and a graphic design 2. But, you know, I kind of just learned the basics. Then from that point on, everything else has kind of been pretty much self-taught and trial and error, which I like really love to like promote. Is like, it's very easy to do this, to be honest. Like, you know, I've done some workshops with some kids and showed them the very DIY way of doing it, because that's how I kind of got brought up doing it. I didn't have the resources to, you know, have an expensive computer to do stuff on, or I didn't have resources to do you know, have like a screen printing setup or anything like that. And so, you know, that's kind of where that began. And, you know, I always like to preach, you know, that side of things. Yeah.
Oh, yes, definitely. And with today's technology, you can really search anything and find tutorials of whatever you want to learn. So that's so amazing.
Yeah, shout out to YouTube. YouTube was probably one of my biggest teachers.
Oh, yes, definitely. So what kind of sparks your creativity to your designs?
You know, I think especially coming from like an indigenous background, you know, I always try to have some point of, you know, storytelling within what I do, just because I know how important that is. You know, like 30 years ago, you know, it would probably be uncommon to see someone looking like me in these type of rooms that I'm in or have conversations in. And so I try to not take that for granted, especially in like the artistic side of things. And, you know, when you see like clothing, for example, I take a lot of inspiration of, you know, where I come from and, you know, what I seen growing up. And also just way back then, like I did like a pant that almost looks like, I don't know if you've seen like those cut off pants that, you know, old Navajo and Apache used to wear. I did some that kind of referenced that, but modernized it a little bit. And even then, that's another conversation too. There's some things that don't need to be modernized, but so I try to like tread a careful, like tasteful line in that area. But I also just like to do stuff that like I personally like too as well. Like I try not to always dig deeper if it doesn't make sense. I think that's kind of where it all started. I started designing clothes that I want to wear that I don't see other people making, and it just so happened that I have a story to tell as well, and that's just like the cherry on top, to be honest. But that's kind of what sparks the creative ideas when I'm kind of locked in the zone. All that's kind of taken in mind, and usually I hope good stuff comes out from it, but yeah, it's kind of where the things start from there.
It is pretty amazing because all of your designs and product that you produce are really, like you mentioned, telling a story, and you're really sharing your culture with everybody. So to kind of talking about your culture, how has your cultural identity shaped who you are today, and how has it impacted your career so far?
I take so much pride of my culture and where I come from, my upbringing, my friends and family, relatives, different elders in my life. I take all that with pride, and I try to wear it on my chest. Like I said, especially being in these different type of rooms that X amount of years it would be unlikely to see someone that looks like us in those type of rooms. And I think that's like so dope. I don't know, like just someone from the res, from a community, is like right next to someone that's like known worldwide. Like I feel like I always try to preach, like especially to the younger generation, that all Native voices matter, and no matter what type of room it is, or no matter what type of conversation it is, their voices always matter. And just because of that, just from we have our own story. We're very rich people. Our different ceremonies. Like I dance powwow, and not a lot of cultures have what we have, and I take that very serious, and try to educate at the end of the day. Just because I know how grateful I am to have this behind me, and there's a lot of beauty behind it. Like I love home. I love my people. It's so simple and so beautiful, and it's a big part of how I carry myself and how I proceed to move forward with everything I'm doing.
Oh yes, definitely. And you're very accomplished right now, and it really inspires the younger generation. Like you mentioned, if somebody's coming from the reservation and they can actually see themselves there one day, all they have to have is just really a dream, and then just a process of trying to get there, and they definitely can get there. So what drives and motivates you in your career?
I actually had this conversation recently, because I just got done doing a Hat Club collaboration. Hat Club's a pretty well-known brand. I think the way we approach that collaboration is I don't know, I always try to do stuff with intention. I think that's what motivates me the most, just being able to be in a space like that and have full creative control, and not being told what to do or how to do it. Just being able to tell like my story, and I think that motivates me a lot. I think just the community in general, like we sold out of all those hats, and everybody was congratulating me, this and that, but I was like, I don't know, I didn't do that to sell out hats. I didn't do that to profit. I didn't do that for the money, for Instagram likes or anything. Like what really pushed me in that collaboration was going back home, because we based the hat colorways off of schools on the res. We based it off of Windrock, Tuba City, and Alchese, and we went back home and shot like the lookbook with the Windrock softball team, the Tuba City baseball and softball team at both the high school locations, and seeing how like hype those kids were, and like hearing the side comment, I was kind of just a fly on the wall, you know, organizing the shoot, but also just like a fly on the wall, hearing like the little side conversations and just seeing how excited they are, because, you know, I think that's, you know, it's very important. I'm a big like progressor in terms of our culture within that realm, specifically clothing, and, you know, I think who knows what that could have sparked in one of their minds. Like, you know, they see someone working, doing something at a high caliber that looks like them, and, you know, like you said, they could just, who knows what that could spark with them, you know, especially like at that age in high school. And I think that comes from like being a big brother myself too as well. I'm the oldest of all my siblings, and seeing them kind of look up and see what's possible and have high expectations for themselves, you know, it's beautiful to see. And I feel like that's what really motivates me and keeps me on my toes to keep going harder, and, you know, being able to lay out a blueprint for them to, you know, just be them and enjoy themselves, do what they love, but also be very proud of who they are, where they come from, and, you know, their cultural background. So I think, yeah, just community, my siblings, my family, of course, you know, friends. I think that's like my biggest, that's what motivates me like the most. On the tired days, get out of bed and, you know, grind out the day, whatever it may be.
Oh yes, definitely. And kind of, you kind of told us a little bit story on one of your products. Can you tell us more about some of the designs and products that you have?
Yeah. So yeah, I'll kind of touch up to the Hat Club one. Yeah. So Hat Club, they're a pretty big brand. They're actually based out of here in Phoenix, Arizona, but they sell, I guess, just fitted hats, and, you know, they have flagship stores in like New York, LA. Pretty huge following on Instagram, my social medias, and they reached out to us to do, you know, whatever. To be honest, they kind of left the ball in our hands, which I'm very grateful for. You know, I think a lot of big companies like that should be moving in that direction, like giving full creative control to, you know, indigenous peoples, if that's the story they want to tell. And we're very adamant on it being that way too as well. You know, like, you know, it's very important to have, you know, have us tell our own story rather than them kind of micromanage, you know, a project like that. So, you know, we based off, we did all Diamondbacks hats, and like I said, we based off the colorways off of, you know, reservation schools here in Phoenix with strong athletic, you know, backgrounds. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why we chose high schools, because, you know, there's a lot of pride in like hometown sports. You know, if you go to like state championship game out here in Phoenix and there's some red schools, like that whole place is full of natives. And, you know, it's funny because I went to go watch Windrock, and I think it was Page, the championship game, the girls basketball. And as soon as that game was over, it was just like two local Phoenix schools the next game, and, yo, the arena like just emptied out. So that's a story that we wanted to show, is just how much pride there is within hometown, and also just like baseball caps in general. Like, you know, we took a lot of personal inspiration from like my grandpa or uncles that go wood hauling in like a Diamondbacks hat, and then they also go to like the Scouts game or something in that same hat. So there's a lot of storytelling within that, and so that's why we chose the schools. And like I said, we were able to go back and do the photo shoot with the teams from the high schools, and, you know, it was a beautiful project, seeing, you know, the kids enjoy it, and, you know, leading up to the pop-up day. And like I said, it did great. It sold out within like 2 hours. And wow. It was dope because there's some families that came from like White River, from Tuba, from Windrock, from the Reds, just specifically to like buy a hat, which is like crazy to me. But, you know, I don't know, I'm still trying to like digest all of that. But, you know, it was a beautiful project. So I think whenever I do projects like that, you know, I definitely try to, like I said, move with intention, especially at like a high caliber brand like that. You know, there's a lot of beauty within our communities and a lot of storytelling that we have that, you know, I want to be able to showcase within clothing or whatever it may be.
And do you have a favorite design that you've created?
Oof. Yeah, that one's a tough one. I'm like my biggest critic too as well. So like whenever I design something, I love it in the moment, and like a month or two later, I'm like, I don't know, I could have did this better, or so I live in my head when it comes to like all that. But then at the same time, it's like I love them all. It's like I can't pick my favorite child.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think a collection that really like stood out to me is yeah, probably this Hot Club one, to be honest. Like just being able to see, be present in a moment like that, especially going back home to Windrock and seeing everything firsthand within like a community that I come from was like very beautiful. And I mean, I've done a lot of I guess like contract work as well too, freelance work, and I did a collection, helped do a collection with Born and Raised from Los Angeles. That one was super cool because Born and Raised is a brand that, you know, I looked up to growing up, and was very thankful to you know, be friends with the late Sponto, and you know, being able to do that project with him and have that friendship build out. You know, that's another project that I really hold dearly to my heart too as well.
And a lot of your collections that we talked about, where can our listeners kind of find those collections of yours? Yeah,
so yeah, the way we kind of drop stuff is very limited. So whenever something comes out, and from that point to when it sells out, is the only time to get it. You know, I try to keep a fresh mind. I don't really want to repeat any type of designs or anything. So I think, yeah, and the best way to do that is just through social media. We have an Instagram @_homeland, and a bunch of underscores after that. I'm not too sure how many, but it'll pop up at that point. And you know, my personal Instagram _made by Ty. But I think that's like the easiest way to find out what's new and what's coming. We do have a pretty stacked list these next few months, and I'm pretty excited to, you know, showcase and for people to see. You know, we're just trying to keep the momentum going, but we also, yeah, I think that's probably the easiest place to find what's new and what's coming soon.
Wow, that's awesome. And where can our listeners go if they wanted to get in contact with you? Yeah,
so I think through Instagram. I always say Instagram's like the modern day resume. You know, my Instagram is @_made by Ty, and you know, I think that's probably one of the easiest points of contacts to me. And then also our website, which is homelandforever.com. There's like a little contact us page in there that, you know, you could contact, and you'll email us directly, and we'll be able to reach back out and you know, get back into whatever is needed. But I think that's probably the easiest way to contact us and contact me.
Well, that's so awesome. Well, I would like to thank you, Ty, for coming in today to tell us about their amazing journey so far and sharing with us some of the storytelling that kind of go into a lot of the products that you create. Yeah,
no, for sure. Thank you for having me. And, you know, it's always dope to see something like this, you know. And I also heard, you know, they got like an FM spot, and, you know, I just love to see Indigenous people win, and you know, definitely hear Indigenous stories at that type of, you know, platform. So, you know, it's a congrats to y'all too as well, and, you know, big fan to everything that's going on over here. Just want to give my flowers to everybody involved in this journey over here. You know, it's that's also what motivates me too, is, you know, seeing creative people do what they love, and, you know, have. It's, you know, a lot of good, it's backed by good people, you know, so, you know, just want to share that love with y'all too as well.
Thank you so much. It's definitely true. The Native voice is growing, and it's amazing.
No, for sure.
Thank you for listening to Native Talk Arizona, supported by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. Audio editing by Javier Quiroga, and the executive producer is Susan Levy. And I'm host Lanasha Puwadi. We hope you tune in again next week. If you have any questions, please email us at nativetalkaz at radiophoenix.org.